Hi everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's video, I want to revisit the question of whether you should play World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV, and I'm going to try to give this as fair an answer as I can, as sympathetic an answer as I can. I think especially with WoW at the moment, people love to hate WoW, and that's not what I'm going to do in today's video. I'm going to be sympathetic. I'm going to give them the fairest case that I can, which I think is the way to do it. But yeah, I actually did a video on this a few weeks ago, I guess, maybe a month ago. And in the meantime, since then, I've actually dived in and I've been playing tons of Final Fantasy XIV and getting a real feel for what the game is about. I'm at the end of the first expansion right now. I've got to see some of the raids, loads of the leveling, the crafting, all the stuff the game has to offer. So yeah, I think at this point I want to revisit it and give you my current thoughts right now, after playing patch 9.1 in WoW as well. So, a quick word from the sponsor for today's video, and then we'll dive right in. Before we dive into today's video though, I want to take a quick minute to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creative and curious people, where millions, from beginners to pros, dabblers to masters, can come together to take the next step in their creative journey. There are thousands of different classes and tons of different projects and workshops you can take part in. The one I want to look at this month in July is Mastering Illustration, Sketching, Inking and Color Essentials, which is an original Skillshare project by Jazza from YouTube. I'm sure you've probably seen some Jazza videos before. I've seen them before as well, so I was immediately drawn to this class when I saw that, yeah, Jazza was actually involved, and he's actually put together 15 different lessons over 2 hours of content here in this masterclass, breaking down everything you need to know about making those illustrations. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal class, well worth checking out if you're into illustrating. And of course, it's really important to mention that Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, so there's no ads and there's constantly new premium classes like Jazza's class coming out for you to check out. And a big thank you to Skillshare as well, because for people on the YouTube community, up until September of this year, they're actually doubling the free trial, right? So if you follow the link in the description down below, it should also be in a pinned comment down below as well, you'll actually get 1 month free membership of Skillshare Premium. That's for the first 1,000 people to click the link. You can jump on and just check out absolutely every single feature that they have on the website. So yes, go down, click that link in the description, check out all the stuff that's on there for free. There's so much stuff, and I really do hope you enjoy. And with that, let's dive back into today's video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about here is WoW versus Final Fantasy. It's something that to me is kind of humorous in a kind of sad way, and I'm going to be pretty harsh here about this one. I'm going to be pretty harsh, but the honest truth of it is that when I think back over the course of WoW's history and what people say about the game and the feedback that they give, you know, the meta of the forum complaints, the meta of the Reddit complaints, the meta of the trade chat complaints, it's very funny to me because you see constantly this question of why do Blizzard never listen to us? Why don't they just listen to the wisdom of the forums, and then the game would be a better place? And it's funny to me in a sad way because I look back at it, and one of the most common complaints that I can think of from the history of WoW, going back to even a TBC, even the Wrath of the Lich King, was, you know, that casuals are killing the game. These goddamn casuals, they're ruining the game. They're ruining WoW. He's like, free epics, it's ruining WoW. They're killing WoW. Looking for raid, group finder, it's killing WoW. Summoning stones, killing WoW. Bloody casuals taking everything away from us. Oh, the casuals, we hate the casuals. Skip forward to 2021, where are we at right now? Skip forward. Suddenly the WoW people, the meta of the WoW complaints is the mythic raiders are killing the game, the 1%. The game is designed for the 1%. It's no longer the casuals are killing the game. And then look at everyone going and playing Final Fantasy. And what are we finding with people playing Final Fantasy? They're like, hey, we really love that there's a huge emphasis on story in this game, and it's exploring those characters. Leveling up is really fun, going through that story. There's loads of side quests, right? I'll try to put up some footage here from the Gold Saucer, which is their version of the Dark Moon Fair. There's literally so many people on screen at a time sometimes. I think at one point in one of the mini games, there was over 100 people maybe 200 people taking part in this thing. There are so many people on screen, it couldn't even display all of the names. It displayed about 1/5 of the names at a time. I could literally run around this circle and it was like this wave of nameplates appearing because there's a cap on how many it displays. It's crazy. I've seen people doing concerts, bards playing concerts of like real world songs in towns, and just loads of people showing up to watch and to listen in, right? People are diving in to all of this casual content. And just this idea that there's just so much of this world to explore. And yeah, all these players are coming over from WoW and going, hey, we really like this stuff. This stuff is great. This stuff is super fun. This stuff is fantastic. And again, probably thanks to years of constant, unending, unrelenting whining on these forums and stuff, constant feedback to Blizzard saying, this is not what we want in our game, this is not what we want, this is a bad game, this sucks, screw the casuals. Suddenly you've ended up in a place where WoW has not emphasized that stuff, and they felt that that was the correct decision to do. And yeah, suddenly you can go and you can look at Final Fantasy and go, hey, this game does have that stuff, this game does cater to casuals, and hey, you know what, it actually makes for a really goddamn fun game. It's actually really good. So, yeah, that to me really bothers. That's a big rant to start this off, but that to me really, really bothers me. Let's talk about the current content in WoW then. Patch 9.1, is that any good? Is it worth playing? Is it worth coming back for? I actually have kind of two different answers to those two questions, where I think that it is worth playing. I don't know if it's worth coming back for, though. The reason being that I actually think it's a good patch. I do. I think it's a good patch. I think it gets way more hate than it deserves. But I think it's a good 0.1 patch that takes all of the stuff that was in Shadowlands and makes it better. It does make it better, right? If we look at the Soulbind trees, right? The Soulbind trees, they've got more rows now. A whole bunch more powers, more options in there, which I think, again, makes it way more interesting, makes it way more fun. Torghast got massively improved, in my opinion. I actually think it's way better now with the score system. It gives you something to play around. You have the reward of getting into the Adamant Vaults, getting a bunch of cosmetics that are now woven through that. I think that's much more interesting. I think that's great. I love the talent tree progression system with a box of many things for Torghast. I think that's fantastic. With the one overriding caveat on this, that for me, I hate the time gating on Torghast. That was something that really bothered me. You know, launch day of 9.1, I was looking forward that week to diving in and just grinding out a bunch of Torghast, unlocking all those powers, checking out the Adamant Vaults, blah, blah, blah. It turns out it's time gated. Such a pain in the butt. I really don't like it. Yeah, for me, I'd enjoy it a lot more if you could go in and you could just, hey, you know what? Just grind out as much of that talent tree as you want in one go. Get all of your soul ash, get all your soul cinders, whatever, soul whatevers. Just get it all. They can time gate another currency from doing some like menial weekly task, like the Quarthia weekly or something like that. Time gate that thing, or time gate one of your Covenant quests to give you a different item to upgrade legendaries if they want to gate the legendaries. That doesn't bother me too much, that the legendaries would be a longer term grind, but I prefer you know what, just dive in. Torghast is cool, it's fun. Go have fun, play as much as you want, when you want. Maybe have bonus events on so that people that space it out get more rewards, or it's an encouragement for you to come back at a later point and check out a bonus event. Whatever, you know, that's my sort of feeling on that. But generally speaking, it is improved. The Maw, way improved as well. I think the Maw is actually really fun now. I like it a lot. I actually really like the Maw Assaults as well. I think they're the best version of Assaults they've done. I love the visuals of it. I think that is really striking. It really feels that you are taking part in like this war, that there is this massive conflict going on around you. They really capture that. I feel like, for example, the Legion assaults sometimes felt a bit like, I know, it's a bit like, you know, you're out in the farms in Ireland, right, and they're out in the field. Oh lads, there's a few demons out there in the field, would you mind going on? They're in me field, will you go get rid of them there? You know, it kind of felt a bit more small scale, whereas I think these Maw assaults do capture a large scale feel, which is really cool. That was something that some of the Final Fantasy players were saying, actually, that hadn't really seen much at all of WoW before. It was when they were looking at my stream on the launch day when we streamed it. They're like, hey, wow, some of these visuals are cool, like the Valkyr flying around in the Battle of Ardenweald and stuff. They're like, man, the scale of it is actually really awesome. So they did that well, I think. They did do that well. Quarthia as a zone is funny to me. It's interesting to me. I would say that I actually quite like the gameplay of Quarthia, but I don't like the story. I don't like the zone itself. So I actually think the gameplay loop is good, where You get a bunch of daily quests, but they're really quick. They're really easy to do. Just run around. They bring you to different parts of the zone. It takes almost no time. It's super quick. Grand. Get it done. Bam. But while you're running around, it's like, oh, there's a little chest over here. There's a mushroom over here. Great. I'll go grab one of those little treasures. Then you've got these major events popping up around the zone, and there'll be a big zone-wide warning and a marker on your map. Hey, everyone rush over, and we do this event together. That's awesome. Then there's also like smaller scale rare mobs and stuff that are going to appear in moss-worn caches. So kind of rare things that pop up that you're excited to find and give a decent reward, but that don't show up on the overall map. You can go into the what's it called? The Void Zone, the Shadow Realm. And yeah, just sort of explore around there. This alternate reality that's much scarier, but there's some nice rare caches in there and stuff like that too. That stuff, to me, that's really cool. And I've enjoyed the Archivist Codex actually as well. This rep where every rep tier, there's a bunch of quests where you go out and find these relics around the zone, collect the relics, bring them back for a big rep boost. That stuff's actually been pretty good. I've enjoyed the gameplay aspect of it. What I don't like is the story of it. Again, to me, I feel like it was a bit missold in the sense that it was Korthia, the City of Secrets. And again, I look at the Korthia, the zone, and go, it's not really the City of Secrets, is it? It's like the muddy field of secrets. Most of it's out in this natural area. It's like, yeah, you do have the more built up area in the middle, but I mean, there's only a few buildings. It's more like you are on the farm, right? And there's the 3 houses of the farm building, like the farm buildings, the stable and the house and whatever. They're over there, with some paved streets in between, and then it's all the fields, all the farmland. That's kind of what it feels like. So that to me bothers me a bit. I'm kind of like, why are we actually here? The City of Secrets, there's not really much, right? There's not much. It's kind of like you just got a chunk of rock with a bunch of animals on it. Like, it's no big deal. And a few random relics. It's fine. It's cool. I think, for example, if you compare it to Suramar City, if we had something like on that scale, it'd be much more true to, I feel like the story that I sort of felt was implied, certainly by the name of the zone. Yeah, maybe I'm completely wrong on this. You let me know. But I think if we were set in like a Suramar City type of place, but yeah, all that sort of outside of the city stuff going on, but actual stuff in the city, that would have been cool. Or like to incorporate some of Tazavesh, like have Tazavesh actually be in there in Korthia, incorporate some of it as questing zones and then some of it as that instance content. I don't know. For me, that would have made it much more exciting and interesting and being like, oh yeah, I can understand why, apart from being there's just a MacGuffin, like whatever, he needs the bloody sigil thing which is in there, like blah blah blah, who cares, right? It's not actually interesting. But if it's like, no, there is this actual city, there's a bunch of crazy stuff in the city, it's cool, there's a dungeon, there's interesting things, that would have been more engaging to me. So that did bother me. Yeah, and it still does bother me a little bit, but yeah, the raid is really good. The dungeon's really fun as well. Like, the raid's particularly good, actually, I think. So there's a bunch of good content in there. It's just that it's been a long content drought. Is it enough to come back? I don't know. I don't know that it is. Because when I go and I look at Final Fantasy, what you have in Final Fantasy, especially if you've never played it before, you have this massive game, and you can play the whole base game and the first expansion for free with a free trial, which is insane. I definitely think WoW should incorporate that. Like, WoW should have a free trial from level 1 to 50. They should let you play through everything up until the current expansion. They should do that. Get players in there, get them playing. But some of the stuff that Final Fantasy does really well, one of the things that I've really enjoyed is that I got to the end of the first expansion. I'm now going through the post game of A Realm Reborn, which is the base game, right? I'm in the post game of that. And during that post game, what am I doing? I have to go and I check out like all of the raids, right? Or nearly all the raids. So there's a couple that are optional, but nearly all of the raids I go and I do as part of the quest. Like, they bring me to those raids. If you're a WoW player, you're kind of be going, oh wow, like, I mean, you get to the end of Wrath of the Lich King, nobody's doing the Wrath of the Lich King raids. What happens? Guess what? There's Raid Finder. It syncs your level down, right? It syncs your item level down as well. It's still very easy. It's Raid Finder content, right? You might wipe on a boss once or twice, but that's about it. You're going to get through it. But it's just really fun to get to the end of an expansion, or to get to the end of that particular storyline, and then actually go into the raids, fight these bosses, see this story as part of this bigger group. It doesn't need to be hard. It's just really cool. It's just really cool. And there's cool loot, and people are really incentivized to go back and go through those to level up their alt jobs. to get some loot, to get collectibles, to get currency, to get collectibles. Like, there's a whole lot of motivation. I think the longest I've ever waited for any of these raids in Final Fantasy was about 8 minutes in Raid Finder. It was the longest I had to wait to actually get in and to do these. I think that's just fantastic. I think, imagine doing that in WoW as you level up, that there would actually be people queuing up for the raids. You could go in queued up as a raid group and go and do those raids and give you kind of a raid finder feel for how they were back in the day, right? Because remember, most players are casual players. Catering to the casual players. Most players are casual players. They are. And you look back at those elitists from the classic WoW days saying, hey, you're making our game too casual. And then you look back at classic WoW and you go, well, I mean, the stuff you're doing isn't that hard, really. Oh, dear. Anyway, but one of these, the core things here, though, which is probably obvious to you from what I've been saying so far, is that I'm still experiencing Final Fantasy as a first-time player, compared to with WoW, where I'm experiencing it as an endgame player, as someone who's played WoW since it first came out. I played every expansion except for Cataclysm, but I played them all, leveled through them, got to endgame, done all the stuff. I farmed all those old raids. I've done all the stuff, right? I've basically done it all. Whereas in Final Fantasy, everything is new. So it's not an entirely fair comparison in that sense, but it's also the most important answer, I think, to the question of whether it's worth playing WoW or whether it's worth playing Final Fantasy. For me, I'm playing both. I'm actually playing both right now because I actually enjoy patch 9.1. I actually quite enjoy the content and I really like the raid, and that's my main focus, is the raid. I like Mythic Plus as well. I know a lot of people don't, but I actually do. So I'm actually really enjoying playing WoW. I'm really enjoying playing Final Fantasy, though, and that's where more of my time is going. Because when it comes down to it, I think a good comparison would be if you throw yourself back to, I don't know, like 2016 or 2017 or something like that, and like one of your friends comes to you and he's like, man, I've been playing Skyrim, and I'm having a great time with Skyrim. I've played through it loads of times. Oh, so many characters in Skyrim. There's a new DLC coming out, and I'm wondering, like, should I play it again? Start again with a new character and check out some of that new DLC. And then you go, well, have you actually played The Witcher 3? That came out a while ago. You see, they've got a couple of expansions out there, incredible, like Blood and Wine. Like, it's insane. This is so good. And he goes, oh, I never played that game. No, I've just been playing Skyrim. You go, yo, dude, you should check it out. Because when you step away, which game is better? I don't know. That's a big debate. They're both incredible games, both incredible role-playing games. But the point being that for the guy who has been just playing Skyrim multiple times through, you've seen it all. You've been there and done that. Yeah, a new DLC is cool, but it's only a really, really small thing compared to that guy who's been just only playing Skyrim, going then and playing The Witcher 3. Game of the Year edition. It's like you've got an entire massive game that's all completely new. There's so much stuff there. I think that's exactly the case here with WoW and Final Fantasy. You've got that game, the familiar game that you've played to death, with some good new content, and it's a great game. Maybe it's even the better game overall. But then Final Fantasy, certainly for me, and if you're in the same shoes as me, is something entirely new. So yeah, there you go. That's sort of my thoughts on that. In terms of where I would like to see WoW to go, just very quickly, we might do another video on this, but very quickly, I would like to see WoW just shove it in the face of those forum complainers from years ago and to go back and to say, you know what? Let's embrace the casual player. Forget all this. The casuals are killing the game. It's not the case. Never was the case. It was a complete bad take. It was a bad take that helped push the game in a bad direction. It was. Let's go back on that. Embrace the casuals. Let's start expanding the content. Make sure that there's just fun, casual content that's not necessarily tied into end game progression, all that crazy stuff. We've got great raids. We've got great Mythic Plus stuff. We've got great dungeons. That stuff is good. Let's focus on the casual guys. Let's give them some cool stuff. So like in Final Fantasy, one thing I think is cool that I'm looking forward to doing is you got relic weapons. Every expansion, big grind to get your relic weapon, which is a really cool weapon for your job, which is the equivalent of a spec or class. Grind it out and you get these awesome transmogs. Really cool. Every expansion has one. It's coming every expansion. Take the Legion artifact weapon system. Let's work that in some way. Why the heck not? Like really cool weapons for your classes. big grind. Will take you a long time to get him, but you get this cool stuff. Again, same thing with class sets. You know, it's okay to have these big grinds if you're getting interesting stuff, if you're getting cool stuff. Take another look at professions, right? Again, look into making those old raids runnable with groups again. Like revamp Raid Finder to fit that stuff in. There's a ton of stuff they could do. There really is, to start to embrace it, taking all the systems, all the content they've developed over the years, even if it wasn't necessarily that popular, take the good stuff of it, like take the good stuff of Islands, take the good stuff of Torghast, take those systems, the things that people liked about them, leave out the things that people didn't, and then bring those in as more evergreen content that carries through, that you want to go back to. Yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on that. Guys, let me know what you think. Where are you at right now? Again, I think a lot of this sort of WoW hate train is completely crazy. It's just bizarre. It puts me off wanting to play sometimes, to be honest with you. Like, I don't want to like go and have to play and see this trade chat or guild chat or whatever spam with people whining. It's just fucking annoying, right? It is. It really is. You're like, oh, this sucks. Final Fantasy's nice in that way because people fucking love it. It's great. But yeah, I'm playing both games and having a good time in both of them. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching me rant, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.